Hello and welcome to the Cryptid Iceberg, where I cover some of the strangest animals that science doesn't recognize. As always, if you haven't seen the previous parts, I will link them down below in the description. In this video, we'll start tier 9 of the iceberg. Kussie is a Japanese cryptid from Lake Muc-Sheilche. It's described as a hump creature, between 30 to 60 feet or 10 to 20 meters in length. It has two small protrusions from its head, which is often said to be silver and horse-shaped. Most of the sightings began in the 1970s, with a lot of eyewitnesses noticing the high speed at which the animal swam. One eyewitness said that it kept up with the speed of his motorboat. Multiple large groups of people, from students on a field trip to firemen, have reported seeing Kussie. There have also been claims that Kussie was responsible for Ainu legends of snake-like creatures in the lake. Some have also connected Kussie with Ainu legends of a large snake-like creature in Lake Muc-Sheilche. Sonar scans taken of the lake in 1974 reportedly found large objects 15 meters or 50 feet deep. Some photos and a video were also taken of the creature. The Muc-Sheilche is a Scottish cryptid reported in Loch Marie and nearby bodies of water. Its name translates loosely to turtle pig, though not much on its description is known. It's most notable for a battle which occurred between it and a Mr. Banks in Loch na Beast, or Loch of the Beast. During the 1950s, Mr. Banks tried multiple times to kill the monster. He first attempted to drain the loch unsuccessfully, then he tried to poison it with quicklime. He was unsuccessful each time. The Minhocao are said to be a group of large hairy cryptids similar to Bigfoot. They're noted for having a distinctive cry of agum. According to the only known sighting, a gold prospector had befriended the Minhocao around 1897. When the man was bitten by a snake, they treated the wound by cutting it around the bitten area and placing moss on it. The name itself is similar to Muc-Sheilche, one of the names for the Tibetan Yeti. In 1973, an unidentified animal was sighted near Big Muddy River in southern Illinois. It was described as a large upright creature covered in white hair. It was dubbed the Big Muddy Monster not just because of its location, but also because it was caked in mud. It was first sighted by a couple who reported it to police. The police came to the area and found large tracks, in addition to hearing loud screaming from the woods. In another report, officers chasing after the creature smelled a strange odor and found a sticky film on a tree. Another man came forward after these sightings and claimed to have seen the creature all the way back in the 1950s, but said he didn't come forward until later out of fear of being ridiculed. Migo is the name given to a large, crocodile-like creature sighted in Lake Nakataua. The cryptid is about 30 feet or 9 meters long with gray skin and a horse-like head. Migo is most widely known for being allegedly filmed on the surface of the lake in 1994 by a Japanese film crew. In July 1833, fishermen off the coast of the Shetland Islands caught something odd. While they were deep-sea fishing, they pulled up a strange 3-foot or 1 meter long creature. They described it as looking like a human woman from the navel up. The creature had wrists and hands like a human, except for webbed fingers. The head of the creature was described as having no nose, just 2 holes for air. Between the nostrils and on the sides of the head were large bristles. The middle one was 9 inches or 22 centimeters long, and the other 2 on the sides of the head were shorter. Bizarrely, the creature could move them, and was even able to make them all meet on the top of its head. Since the bristles moved when the men were speaking, they assumed that the bristles were how it heard. The mouth of the cryptid was so large it could fit an entire person's hand, with thick lips and a small underbite. The skin was said to be white on the front, and light gray on the back. The animal also had a peculiar tail, which was flat, 2-lobed, and about 6 inches or 15 centimeters long. Since the creature resembled a mermaid, and killing one was considered bad luck, the fishermen let it go. It hasn't been sighted again. The Minhocao, which translates roughly to earthworm, is a giant worm cryptid reported from South Brazil. The cryptid has dark, bony, armored scales and 2 movable horns coming out of its head. The Minhocao's length has been reported as being up to 150 feet or 45 meters long and 15 feet or 5 meters wide. The worm's skin was said to be as hard as pine tree bark. The cryptid is described as being amphibious, both traveling underground in tunnels, above ground in trenches, and living in water. While most of the reports came from Brazil, there were also similar reports in Nicaragua, Cuba, Bolivia, and Uruguay. There also haven't been any sightings since the 1920s, leading many to consider the cryptid extinct. Named after the Mogollon Rim in Arizona, the Mogollon Monster is said to be a Bigfoot-like cryptid. It differs from typical Bigfoot reports by being described as more violent, decapitating its prey and drinking their blood. It's also been said to mimic the sounds of various animals, from birds and coyotes to even screaming women. Some reports claim the monster's face is mostly hairless, while others describe a long beard running down to its knees. One sighting claimed the cryptid used a club to threaten the eyewitness. The Elephant-dung bat is a cryptid reported in the Marsabit Forest and Mount Kulal of Kenya. It's a silver and brownish-gray furred bat with a wingspan of about 5 inches or 12.5 centimeters long. It gets its name from its habit of roosting in piles of elephant dung on the ground. The only known sightings come from the 1950s. The Nayarit Ruffed Cat is a cryptid known from 2 skins purchased by cryptozoologist Ivan Sanderson, and a third that he also saw for sale but didn't purchase. These skins were found in Mexico, and measured around 4.5 feet or 1.4 meters in length. It was brown in color, with multiple stripes on the flank and upper legs. The cat had thick hair around its neck and paws especially. Unfortunately, the skins Sanderson purchased were lost in a flood. Cryptozoologist Carl Schuker also heard reports that Aztec and Mayan carvings depicted the animal. Gorp is the name given to reports of living giant ground sloths in North America. Sightings aren't common, but they go back at least until the 1960s, when author John Keel received a letter from a teenager. The letter stated that the eyewitness was living near a swamp in New York State, and sometimes spotted a large white animal standing about 15 feet or 4.5 meters tall. Sometimes the animal was alone, and sometimes they were spotted in pairs. Multiple people in the teenager's family saw them, and they were said to look almost exactly like giant ground sloths. Interestingly, there are a number of reports of alleged gorps being captured. One comes from 1864, when Native Americans sold one to a Nevada newspaper. Another report comes from Boonesville, Indiana in 1936. A creature resembling a giant ground sloth attacked a dog and then evaded a police chase. Later on, a man came forward and claimed that he and his uncle had originally captured the animal in Mexico, but then lost it afterwards. The Huang Yao is a Chinese weasel cryptid. Not much is known about it, but it's described as having a yellow top, a black bottom, and a cat-like face. The giant eel, also known as the super-eel and mega-eel, is one of the most commonly cited species of sea serpent. It's described as a longer version of regular eels, which usually don't grow that far past 10 feet or 3 meters. Giant eel sightings describe lengths up to 100 feet or 30 meters long. One early sighting was in 1870 when a ship caught a 40-foot reddish animal that resembled an eel off the coast of Norfolk Island. Other sightings describe the giant eel fighting with large whales. The Kanas lake monster is a cryptid reported from Kansas Lake in Xinjiang, China. They're described as reddish-brown fish 10 to 15 meters or 32 to 48 feet long. Sightings go back at least to the 1980s, when scientific inquiries were made into reports of the cryptid. Multiple large groups of tourists have reported seeing the monster, with some even capturing it on camera. One of these videos, taken in 2005, allegedly shows 2 10-meter or 32-foot long fish swimming through the water. A later scientific investigation stated that the cryptid might be a subspecies of taimen, a type of salmon. Normal taimens only reach about 2 meters or 6 feet long, which is much shorter than what the sightings report. The Lutulong or donkey-headed wolf is a cryptid reported from across China. As the name suggests, it has the body of a large wolf and a head shaped like a donkey's. It feeds on wildlife, and when that's not available, it targets livestock and even children. It's said that the animal doesn't fear humans. Depending on the witness, it either sounds like a howling wolf or a braying donkey. The Merhorse is a species of sea serpent first categorized by cryptozoologist Bernard Heuvelmans. It's described as a seal between 30 and 100 feet, or 9 and 30 meters long, with a long neck and a large mane of hair. The Merhorse is said to have large eyes, and because of this it's theorized to live at depths of 300 to 600 feet. While Merhorses have been reported in both the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, it's most often sighted off the northwestern coast of North America. This has led some to consider Caddy as potentially being a Merhorse. The Snark is a serpentine shark cryptid. One of the most notable encounters with this animal was in 1863 when a fish 80 feet or 24 meters long was captured and killed near what is now Xiamen, China. A close inspection of the shark's mouth indicated that it was a filter feeder, similar to a whale shark. Unfortunately, no remains of the Snark were preserved. The most well-known incident involving the cryptid was in the Gulf of Maine in 1880, when Captain S.W. Hanna caught what the Seaside Press described as a sea serpent, 25 feet or 7.5 meters long, and 10 inches or 1/4 of a meter in diameter. When asked further about it by naturalist J.M. Allen, Hanna described the fish in detail, and even made an illustration of it. He explained that he didn't keep the fish since it wasn't until later that he realized what he had caught, and that at the time he was only bothered by it because it tore up his nets. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to help me out, check out my Patreon linked in the description. I'll also have links to my other social media pages there too. I'd like to give a special thank you to Chris, Michaela, Ravendays, Enigma, Equarep, the Cryptid Archive Wiki, and Sertorius. Once again, I'll link the other parts of the iceberg below. That's all for this video. I will see you in the next one.